keyword for today. Tenancy.
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 Derived from tenants.
Derived from tenant.
And we want to talk about tenancy control.
Yes.
Which is an unfamiliar term to me.
Okay, well, tenancy control is the kind of new technocratic sounding term for rent control, which a lot of people are familiar with.
Coming from the other T.
Yeah.
Technocrats.
Yes, technocrats, yeah. So this term tenancy control, it's going to be discussed today in the panel on housing. And
it's actually what?
Well, it's the idea that the government steps in and gets in the middle of the landlord-rentor relationship and says, we are going to tell you how much you can
So it's rent
charge.
control.
It's rent control. It's the government saying, you must charge this, and then if you're going to raise the rent, you can only raise it by this much.
So it's rent control.
Yeah, exactly.
And the technocrats just to repackage it, called tenancy control.
Exactly. The people that are...
So they want to control more than the rent. That's why they have to come up with
Yes. Well, the thing is about rent control and why it is just such a bad idea, because it is one of those classic laws where they start by saying, oh, we're going to do this. And then they find out that everybody finds ways around it. And then when they do that, they're like, oh, well, we have to correct when they did this. Oh, and then they did that, and that, and that, and that. And then you end up with this complete mess of regulation. This crazy spaghetti ball. And 5 years later, everybody's like, how did we end up with this disaster of a situation? And everyone says, well, we could see it coming, right? And what happens is they just make up so many big, broad, sweeping rules that everybody's relationships with their landlords becomes complicated, becomes unworkable. Oh, we can do this? No, you can't. I don't have to do that. Oh, yes, you do. No, I don't. Call the lawyer. And nobody wins but the lawyers. And I mean, places where they've had rent control, I lived in Montreal when they had it, you end up with landlords who just end up saying, I can't kick people out, because that's part of tenancy and rent control broadly. Like, it starts with rent control, then it becomes tenancy control. I can't kick people out. I can't raise rents. What am I going to do? Let the building go to hell. Because why would I invest, right, when I can't get a return? And you end up with, like, miserable buildings. The term slumlords came out of experiences with rent controls, and your building stock degrades. People live in worse conditions.
And we are not talking about. And we are not talking about small cities.
No, we're talking about big cities.
Big cities.
Yeah.
Even big cities will have this problem. Even if they have high land price.
Yeah.
The landlord will just give it up because it's too complicated to manage it.
Paris.
Oh,
yeah.
Paris is
a mess. And
mess.
People will bring that out and say, oh, rent control's fine. They do it in New York. They do it in Paris. And it's a disaster. You have people fighting over rent-controlled apartments.
It works in only a few cases, but it didn't work in most cases.
Yeah.
So the social cost is just too huge to bear.
Yeah, it reduces mobility. That's a big problem in Hong Kong if you work in one place but live in another.
And I can guarantee that in the longer run it won't work.
Yeah.
Because the tenancy control will just add in more and more and more control. And the bureaucrats just cannot handle it.
Yeah.
And once you cannot handle it,
it
will create unthinkable problems.
An absolute disaster. But of course, the fallacy is they think they can control it, and they keep trying and trying harder and harder.
This is what I don't understand. If the Hong Kong people criticize the Hong Kong government that much, saying that the Hong Kong government cannot do anything, why should they give them more power to control the tenants?
Yeah. I mean, that argument's being made more and more in Hong Kong. But I think if you want to see a homeowners revolt, try rent control and see how that goes. I mean, it'd be a political disaster.
Oh no.
So I hope some of our friends in Execco are watching. You want to nip this thing in the bud. Don't let it get out of hand. I mean, kill it before.
Okay, tenancy.
Tenancy.
Keyword for today.
You bet. All right. Cheers.